Radical.
The Plane Ride from Hell. This was documented in a great series called Dark Side of the Ring, and I'll leave a link to this down below. Hopefully the link will still work for you guys. I checked it out on Dailymotion. I've never discussed a plane ride from hell, but when it comes to wrestling, there's hardly anything more infamous than the plane ride from hell. Now, why they call it the plane ride from hell? Well, imagine about everything that could go wrong on a plane ride. Imagine almost everything that could go wrong on a plane ride. It was a perfect cocktail of things to go wrong on a plane ride. And I bring up cocktail, but alcohol was the big reason so many crazy things happened on this plane ride from hell. And what happened was, not going over the full story, like I said, if you want to check out the full story, then click the link down below in the description. But they were finishing a tour that ended in 2002 with the Insurrection pay-per-view, a tour of Great Britain, and they were just about to head back home, and they had to wait for about 6-7 hours before the plane took off. And what happened before that was a lot of drinking. Before they even got on the plane, they kept going through all the drinks, and they kept drinking more. Now, Scott Hall and Ric Flair happened to be two of the heaviest drinkers of all time, happened to be on this plane ride from hell. And those are two people with some incidents I'll talk about in momentarily here in a couple minutes. I don't know, where do I begin? I guess I'll begin talking about Dust. Now, Goldust, Dustin Rhodes, at one point took over the PA system, and he had recently broken up, got a divorce with Terry Runnels. Terry Runnels famously was a diva that had, I would say, the sharpest nipples of all time. Like, literally, like the biggest, sharpest nipples of all time. Maybe they mandated that she didn't go to the shows without a bra on. I don't know. But, she literally has the sharpest, biggest nipples of all time. And I watched her in an interview talking about the plane ride from hell, separate from this special, and I kept thinking to myself, how cold is it in there? And no, it's not cold wherever she goes. She just has literally some of the biggest nipples of all time. It's crazy. It's insane. I don't know if that's a side effect of the plastic surgery. I'm not sure. It's just something that just kind of sticks out about her. She's a pretty woman. She's still now. She's older, but she's still a pretty woman. I can imagine, what Dustin was going through, having to deal with not being with her anymore. So he was sad. He was heartbroken. And he took over the PA system, and she was on that plane ride, embarrassed all hell, and he started singing a David Allan Coe song to her. But, I mean, that's one of the least of offenses. Scott Hall was also there, and he was also very, very, very drunk. Barely coherent, as he often was in those days. That's exactly what you want to do. Unlimited alcohol for Scott Hall. One of the flight attendants came over, as their job to go over to the wrestlers and see if they, need any food or need anything. And she's here in the documentary, and she gives an on-hand account of everything that's going on there. Scott Hall actually grabbed her shirt, ripped buttons, pulled her close to him, and then said, "I'm going to lick you," and then tried to lick her. And then thankfully he passed out after that. Justin Credible later says that he actually had to put sunglasses on him, say that he had some kind of a condition to get him through customs. So literally, he was not there. He was not all there. Now, there's two more I'll kind of save to the end here. There's two big ones. I don't know, the last three. How about we talk about Michael Hayes? Michael Hayes was part of the Fabulous Freebirds decades ago, but then he later, maybe he's still an agent there, I'm not sure. He was an agent, and what he did was, there was these, I forget what they called them, basically kind of like just some pills I wish I could remember what the name of it was. But you take these pills and you drop them in the drink, and you pretty much, if someone drinks that, then they're knocked out. Well, someone did that to Michael Hayes, and he woke up really angry, and he punched Bradshaw. Just punched Bradshaw. And he busted him open because he had already been busted open on the pay-per-view, so of course he's pretty mad. Well, Bradshaw gets up, slaps the piss out of him, knocks him out, right? Okay? Well, X-Pac was there also. X-Pac was there. And Sean Waltman, X-Pac. So everyone really doesn't like Michael Hayes. A lot of people didn't like Michael Hayes. For obvious reasons. I mean, guys like fucking punching people. So I think Bradshaw and other people were egging on X-Pac to cut off that stupid fucking ponytail. He had a mullet, but he kept it back as a ponytail. So he cut off the ponytail and like held it up like this gigantic victory. Later on, he would take that ponytail, they would take it, put it in a plastic bag, and actually put it on a dressing room, you know. Now, when he woke up later, he was pissed. He was fucking pissed, naturally. And he kept running around going, "Who fucking cut it off? Who fucking cut it off?" 2 more instances to go. One is the Ric Flair incident, and this is what I think most people are talking about right now. And if you had any hope of Ric Flair probably, going back to WWE for a while, or maybe joining AEW, I think the brakes might be put on that. Because from this account of this flight attendant, Ric Flair, he was wearing the robe. And he wasn't wearing anything up under the robe. Woo! He was drunk, going around, swinging his junk around like a helicopter. And at the back of the plane, for several minutes, he would not let one of the flight attendants go. And it gets worse. Apparently what he did was, he grabbed the hand of the flight attendants and forced them to touch him. Yeah. So that sounds pretty bad. When reached out for comment, Rick denies that. But, like I said, perfect cocktail. Perfect cocktail. You get all these guys together. It's like a freaking frat house, but you're 30,000 feet up. So, there's reasons why they call this the plane ride from hell. But the worst incident probably is Curt Hennig, who was friends. They're both from Minnesota, him and Brock Lesnar. He was friends with Brock Lesnar. And I guess they would joke around, they would play, they were both amateur wrestlers. They would rib one another. Scott Hall, who was coherent at this time, he went around with Curt Hennig, putting shaving cream on people, I guess, that had fallen asleep. Well, Brock Lesnar had fell asleep, and he put some shaving cream on Brock's head, and then he took his hand down and he splatted the shaving cream, so the shaving cream went everywhere. Well, that's exactly what you want to do, 30,000 feet. Enrage Brock Lesnar. So, Brock Lesnar got up, chased Curt all around the plane, eventually speared him, and they started wrestling. They started shoot wrestling and whatnot. 2 very large men, flinging each other around the plane. At one point, Curt got flung up near the emergency exit. Now, with that altitude, at that height, I don't think the door would have opened. But here again, you have like 500 pounds of meat, going up against the door. The flight attendant said that things were getting broke. The overhead area, some seats actually were separated from the floor. Again, that's 500 pounds of meat just going around this plane. And it would be terrifying. It would be terrifying to be on that plane and actually see what was going on. So, Jim Ross said that he was tasked, and ultimately it comes down to him, he was tasked with handling the situation. And Vince Vince was on there, but you're like, what did Vince do? Vince didn't do shit. Vince was on there, Vince didn't do nothing. Later on, firings happened. Vince, laid down who should be let go. Scott Hall was let go. Curt Hennig was let go. And I can't remember if Dustin Rhodes was let go or fined. He might have been fined, but then later released. Nothing happened to Ric Flair, because Jim Ross said during the documentary he was probably, just a made man. They asked him, hey, why didn't anything happen to Ric Flair? And he's like, well, that's a good question. And of course, nothing happened to Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar was going to be the future of the company. So Brock Lesnar could have probably, whipped it out and started, urinating on everybody during the flight. What I'm saying is nothing is going to happen to, Brock Lesnar.